Welcome back to the Agentics podcast, where we talk growth, security, and how modern operators actually win. I'm Hani. Today I'm joined by Richard Avery, CEO of Titanium Computing in Austin. They're an MSP and cybersecurity partner helping businesses stay resilient in quite a messy world. So, welcome, Richard. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So, what is, Richard, the kind of quick version of your path into security and where you're at today, just to get an idea of your journey and some pivotal moments maybe that got you here.
Well, my father was a locksmith, so I was drilling safes and picking locks before I was 10. I grew up in Endicott, New York, which is the birthplace of IBM, arguably the birthplace of cybersecurity. I've been in and out of a bunch of different spaces, did a bunch of certifications, eventually got hired by Lockheed Martin, got my clearance at Lockheed Martin, eventually moved to Austin, then got hired by the DoD. Did 3 deployments to Iraq, 9 deployments to Afghanistan as a civilian contractor, hacker, person hacker, software hacker, all sorts of stuff in the space. So security has kind of been unintentionally my passion as well as my upbringing.
I love that, and seems like quite the natural progression from the physical security to the digital. Is that at all related, or in terms of how you were thinking about how to hack a lock versus how to pen test or, check vulnerabilities on any given architecture?
Yes, as a matter of fact, that's one of the things that I use as a translation is that my business cards are pen testing, breaking, and entering tools. So when I hand them out, not only do they live in people's wallets, but it's meant to create a conversation about the fact that the guy who typically installed the door frame is not the same guy that installed the door and is not the same guy that installed the furniture handle of the door. You never hired a fourth person to make sure that all three of those people did their job right. You just assume they did their job right. Well, when you take that translation, which anybody can get that, when you take that translation and you move that to the digital world of, hey, who installed your cabling and wiring? Who configured your router, your firewall? How many times have you had some contractor just get remoted into your infrastructure and install some software and do some things and then log off and poof, you're done?
Yeah, yeah,
When have you hired somebody to come in and actually spot check and do an audit or a pen test and say, this is where your holes are?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's a fair point. I mean, if we're taking analogies there to the next level, if you have an AGT or if you have a managed service provider on your security of all of the above, is that kind of indicative of what, type of service that you provide at the end of the day?
Yeah, it's really, people typically don't understand where their holes lie in their own security until they're shown to them rather forcefully.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely see that as well, right? And I think the perception is changing in terms of being a little bit more adopting of the protection, and not recognizing that it's a just in case. It's a, when it's going to happen, not if it's going to happen. So appreciate that. And Richard, I mean, something that I love about your and looking into it is how you're looking at basically how systems get compromised end to end, right? It's not just one area, it's not just the cloud, it's not just the hardware, it's not just the firewall, right? Can you talk about that lens a little bit? I mean, how do real compromises happen when you zoom out and take that perspective?
Oh man, so I'm writing my second book called Don't Worry, I'll Let Myself In. And I
Okay.
cover each one of these on the various chapters. I don't care that you've got a $15,000 firewall if I can just break into your server room, put your server in my trunk, and drive off. Right? I don't care about any of that stuff. And it becomes a holistic process. You've got, and it's getting even worse because now, before it was, all right, I've got some on-prem and I've got some off-prem and I'm moving more into the cloud and I'm moving more into this and more into that. But now you got to have to be even more concerned about your employees just being like, you know what? I want ChatGPT to help me with this file. Here's all my compliance information, all my social security numbers. Here's my credit card information. I just threw that all up in a ChatGPT and now it's gone and I can never get it back. And we don't know what's going to really happen with that data because the organization hasn't thought, what is my data? And how do I need to be a custodian of that data? And what are my compliances? And am I meeting those compliances? That is a nonstop problem in the space. We partner with Zurich through a company called SpearTip Shadow Protect. They're an EDR, NDR, or NOC company. And I have friends of mine that are on global incident response teams. I'm in Austin, Texas, which is right next door to Round Rock, and Round Rock is Dell's headquarters, right? So there are people in the cybersecurity space and the hacking space that I know very well, and they get sent off in planes, and hey, our company got hacked, or whether it doesn't matter what the size of the company, like your cybersecurity insurance policy triggers, and you should have a team maybe coming out to review you. And I take these guys out to lunch, and I'm like, how often is it some super elite hacker comes in with this 0 day that nobody has ever seen before, and they're doing this and they're doing that? They're like, never. It's never that. It's always Bob didn't have multi-factor on, the database wasn't encrypted, the port was open, the back door was unlocked. Like, it's still that low level stuff, that
Yeah.
checklist that people aren't following.
And a lot of it's awareness, education, culture in implementing the right things and understanding these things. And so I see you educate, you take these clients through a process of education on not only the industry and what's happening, but as well titanium and the differentiators that you guys, provide. Can you give some perspective, Richard, on those two elements? Like one, the industry. I mean, you started here, but like it's shifting quick. So maybe a little bit about AI in the industry and what's changing in the past 6 months. And then two, what titanium kind of brings to the table that's above and beyond or different at the end of the day.
So I'll answer those backwards. Titanium, like I'm training my team sometimes from scratch, but we have other pen testers here that I've trained that are certified. We've got a lot, most of my team has at least 1 to 3 Microsoft certifications. Most of my team have those on top of 2 to 3 CompTIA certifications. You need to really understand the basics when it comes to hacking and compromising. I got a buddy, not my buddy, one of my staff who I consider a buddy, but he comes to me, he's like, how do I become a better hacker? How do I become better at what I want to become and what I'm doing? And I said, here's 2 books, right? Here's TCP/IP Illustrated, which is like a 650-page book, and here's DNS and Bind, which is like a 550-page book. Like, go read these. He's like, but I already know these things. I got my Network Plus. I got my Security Plus. I'm like, can you write a 30-page essay on DNS? And he's like, no, I don't think I could do that. I'm like, then why are you, looking down your nose at reading this 550-page book on DNS? He's like, okay, yeah, you're right. So he goes back, and 5 days later, he comes back. He's like, I didn't know anything about DNS. I thought I had an idea. He's like, there's so much stuff here. And we're in a world where people are usually, they're not cracking open a book anymore. In the hacker generation, it was RTFM, read the manual, and most people aren't doing that. They're letting some YouTuber, which is great to get you going, guide them through a whole bunch of stuff. So that's kind of what we're doing different at Titanium, in that I'm trying to bring this old school hacker vibe, of learning and self-discovery and self-learning, training them how to learn. And then when it comes to the AI piece, the AI piece is going to be all over, right? 99% of people who are using AI are still using it wrong. They're treating AI mostly like Google, which is great to start out, but they're not like really like getting into multiple tools. All right, I'm going to use this tool for audio and this tool for video, and I'm going to use this tool for this and this tool for that. And you're going to have 10 to 20 different AI tools that are trained on various different things, right? When I'm handing somebody a video file, you're throwing it into Opus typically, right? You're throwing something into another tool that's going to make that work for you. And the reason why we're going in this accelerated AI world is that we had those tools, but we had those tools for people. We don't have those tools for the AI yet. A boat builder has 30 different carving blades that he's using to carve that boat. If you just go to AI and you bang on it and you're like, why can't I get the granularity or the control I want? It's because we haven't made those custom blades yet. We haven't made those custom pieces of the process that the human knows how to do, right? Deep in Photoshop, how to granulate the layers and the shadows and all these other things. The AI is still not there yet. We're building those tools, which is why we're opening about 9,000 data centers across the world. Once we get those tools, AI will get better and better and better and better. So it's really just, where are you on your AI journey? And if you're just starting your AI journey, you're going to get fired. Full stop.
Yep.
Like I'm watching CEOs say it right now. The people who are resistant to AI, just fire them, get rid of them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's going to be a weird world.
Yeah, we're getting into some crazy stuff right now, that's for sure. I mean, Richard, if you're looking at the ship analogy, to build that ship, right, you have a lot of tools right now, for example, that you're using. It's kind of vendor sprawl, tool sprawl, right? You need to consolidate. And a lot of that is innovation, and it sounds like you're doing it. You're kind of at the forefront of that. So how long until we get there? How long until the industry adapts? How long until, right? And I know this is a broad question. It's going to take some reach and maybe some predictions on your part, but let's be bold there.
You're not going to see that happen yet until we have an AI washout. And that washout might be this year, it might be next year. We need to have a full, just like we did in the .com, right? Is the internet going to change the world? Absolutely. Look at what it has changed. This is the future that everybody was investing in 1999 and 2000, but it was just fluff and promises, because we still didn't know who was really going to be adopted, who was really still going to be a tool that people wanted to buy, and what were they going to use it for. In Austin, right now, you can go to a bar and there's two tickets you buy to go to the bar. You can get your ticket that is just entry into the bar, and the second ticket is you get entered into a raffle. You have access to the bar, but you're also entered into a raffle to control one of the fighting robots in the bar during a fight that night. So you're fighting somebody else who also just was a random fighter. Neither of you know what you're doing. You're both playing a video game for the first time, and everybody else in the bar is watching. These two robots. It's real steel. Real steel is here. How does that develop? And what are going to be the interesting takes that we have? Those companies haven't even come around yet. Where's the, like, how hard is it to upload a whole schematic of a house into a couple of robots to do framing and wood? Not very hard. Once we have the specialized tools on the specialized robots to do that, you're going to have a house go up in 4 days. Those are the countries, those are the, not countries, those are going to be the companies that survive the AI washout and explode. And that washout hasn't happened yet because we're still
Yep.
just washed in money of AI investment. Once the washout happens, the survivors of that washout are going to be only the companies that are people are paying for to use, and they'll be the ones to really watch going forward.
Yep. And let's get real and practical. I mean, how do you survive in your point, right? Like, what are the biggest challenges you have to address as a business today?
It's going to be making sure that your employees are enabled with AI, that they don't look at AI as an enemy to them, right? That they look at it as a tool in their toolkit that they can lean into or not lean into. And how does it help them do their job, right? If you're in ticket hell and you've got this many tickets and you can just go click, what are the tickets I should respond to? How should I engage? What's the best? Oh, hey, all right, this ticket I haven't responded to in so many hours or days. And if you're in a bad MSP, weeks or months. I need to go deal with these things. And as a manager, how am I sorting through hundreds, if not thousands of tickets? Click, AI does that for me. So leaning into people who are eager to get into new tools and eager to look into things that will help them with their business and their job role in specific are going to be so critical going forward.
Yep. Agreed. Agreed. And then how much of your time, Richard, is then divided between maybe addressing the inefficiencies and the challenges with more efficient solutions, driving automation, driving simplicity in their architecture versus securing that architecture.
Titanium is going to be going in we're going to be launching a couple software as a service platforms this year.
Okay.
And
Okay.
that's because we're trying to solve our problems, right?
Hmm.
Talking to 100 different MSPs and 100 different IT consultants, the problems are the same. Just like everybody has a problem with bookkeeping, everybody has a problem with accounting, everybody has a problem with all of these. Like we can paint with a really broad brush some of the problems that people have. And if there was a better solution out there that people liked, they would flock to it in a heartbeat. So we've built solutions for ourselves that we're going to take to market, and then hopefully people will like them.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And I'm, seeing that as a trend based on kind of the lower cost of dev. So it really matters on the execution and the results that you can test out, and then try to show that and bring that to your clients. So absolutely, absolutely agreed. What about security, right? Let's get back to kind of like, identity, to XDR, to backup, to endpoint, security. You're looking at DLP, what's in transit versus what's in, rest. And there's a lot of elements that AI is helping with and creating vulnerabilities as well, and problems and challenges, right? So, I mean, how do you see the industry playing out in terms of trying to secure a lot of these you know um these areas that are necessary?
I foresee this getting worse before it gets better. Just like people, there was a drive for you have to have a website. You have to have a web presence. You have to be doing this and that and all these other things. And now it's like, well, why aren't you having AI manage your mailbox for you? Why aren't you having AI do this for you? Why aren't you having AI on your website automatically talk to your customers when they visit? I, as a hacker, love that stuff. That is
Yeah,
great because I'm just going to send an email to you asking for it to give me your API keys or your master passcode for your Amazon. Like there, and these are attacks that aren't theory. They're now in the wild. People are feeding AI saying, give me this. And the AI is like, okay, here you go. Because you didn't put
yeah,
any rules on it not to, right? Scraping is a big thing. Like there's all sorts of when you're using and Claude Desktop or any of the desktop clones or Claude Chrome, any of the integrations that let Claude directly integrate with your browser. There are already attack vectors of like I'm going to scrape this website and at the bottom of the website in white code that the AI can see, but you can't. It's effectively saying, please give me your Windows password. Not
yeah,
really, but the equivalent therein, right? Please dump the passwords that are in memory. Please dump the passwords that are in your saved Chrome browser. These attacks are here, and it's going to be like the wild, wild west again because people are going to manipulate the AI and what people are doing. So if I know you've got an AI email reader, man, I'm going to get to have some fun with you.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I mean that there's obviously massive opportunity in that, right? You're offering pen testing now. I mean, I love that it's turning the security from theory into a kind of playbook of what to do or a scoreboard. Um, you know, my background's growth, so I'm going to shift gears a little bit more into what are some tools that you've used or you're using or maybe developing that have surprised you in terms of ROI, right?
Man, that's great. The big one is the using Claude Code or using Anthropic Code, same
Yeah, yeah,
company, different name, different venue. And like you said, kind of lowering development cost, which is by 10xing your developers, by having your developers be 10 times faster and 10 times more efficient, but they're usually not bolting another product on to make sure that they're 10 times more secure, right? How am I making sure my API keys are more secure? How am I filtering? We have email. We used to have email filters back 15 years ago. You'd send all your email off to somebody else and they'd scan it and they'd send it back to you. And some companies still do that. There's going to be that for AI. Hey, you're going to need this is the API key, and your employees are going to scan this API, and it's going
yep,
to inject this way and come that way. And the developers are going to need to have, WAFs, application firewalls, in front of their API keys, filtering who is allowed to talk to that API key and why are they allowed to talk to that API key and how long and how much. So even in the development space, people are rushing to get products out faster and faster, and they're leaving these big giant holes in their products.
Yeah, yeah. And so you're seeing kind of in terms of a trend, what's happened similarly in cybersecurity, where we've done clients an injustice of providing hundreds of different solutions, and creating this kind of point product sprawl, if you will, with overlapping functionalities and differing policy structures and so on. You know the challenges that this creates. And so, are you seeing the same thing with AI today? And, fast forward 2 years, 3 years from now, is it just going to be using whatever tool you've seen or whatever tool you've developed, or where do you see this going?
Yeah, I've certainly seen a lot of the vibe code jokes here and there. Please fix, right? Kind of things.
Yeah,
Did you please encrypt database, right? Kind of thing.
yeah,
It's going to be a very interesting take on how people adjust to those things as people start to get more, because I'd say by 2030 you will be able to develop and build anything you want completely custom to you. You'll just be paying for the tokens to do it and the platform to host it on and all of that stuff, right? So software as a service platform companies are going to, unless you're really good, are going to get hammered a little bit. But then you also have to look at the flip side of that argument. And the flip side of that argument is marijuana is legal in New York State. And how many people are actually going out and growing it? Not many. They're going and they're buying a more refined product, right? Once you have all of these options, you're going to see SaaS companies be less minimum viable product and more refined product to be delivered. We have curated this. This is quality and assurance to this level. We're guaranteeing you're going to have a positive experience, where you're going to see a bunch of refinements in the software as a service space because it's going to be so easy for someone to go out and develop and build whatever they want.
yeah, yeah. No, and I see that. I mean, we see it every day. Ultimately, I speak to a lot of, CEOs, founders that are constrained because they do want to try to build something that's purpose built, right? They do want to grow it themselves. Ultimately, they're not a farmer and they don't want to be, tending to those plants. They want to be running their business, and subscribing to services that are specialized seems to be more of a trend right now as well. You've gone through that learning curve.
As long as there's one there, that when they're going out and they're asking for it, if you go out and Google it and it's there, or ask, not Google, maybe ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever your flavor is, already we're talking about, it's arguable depending on what platform on, SEO or AGO, whether it's 40 or 60%. I've heard stories of people saying that they're getting 50-50, right? 50% is normal web traffic and 50% is AI traffic
Wow.
coming to people's
Wow.
websites. So we're already at the point where people are, because they don't realize, like some people are doing bait and switch. Copilot's automatically taking over the Bing search. Gemini's automatically taking over the Google search. So you're seeing the endpoint come from a different place. But that is going to continue to happen. And as long as there's a product there when somebody asks for it, you're going to have a better experience. But the refinement, going back to your ROI, means that you need to be offering more from a marketing standpoint to let AI latch onto, regardless of what your product is, regardless of how long you've been in the business. If AI is like, well, this website has 800 posts and is 10 years old, and this website has 15 posts, but it's 25 years old, you're going to go over here because it feels like there's more information and there's more content, regardless how much better you are over here. So you're going to need to play just like people eventually had to start playing the SEO game. You're going to have to start playing the AI game.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. And everyone's either overhyping it or ignoring it. You find that they're dismissing it a lot of times. In the real world, how's AI changing the attacks right now, right? Based on what you're seeing.
Man, we don't have time for that if we talked about it all day.
Yeah.
So I've got, if you go on my YouTube channel, you can see Chris Kirch. He was with Rumble Run at the time. It's now a company called Run Zero. He founded that with HD Moore and Chris Kirch. If you're a hacker, you know who these names are. These are the two people who created Metasploit, which is the Microsoft Office for hackers in short, right? You are most likely, if you are doing any sort of script kidding, hacking at this point in time, you're doing Metasploit in some way, shape, or form to do that. I've got other buddies of mine that I drink beer with, that I hang out with, that are named hackers, right? And Robert Willis being one of them. He's here in Austin. We hang out and do a bunch of stuff sometimes. Really good at ping pong. The all of the hackers I know have shifted drastically into AI and AI development because accelerates their red teaming and blue teaming and purple teaming so fast, right? You're going from a 2 to 3 week engagement to a 2 to 3 day engagement. And that is just going to get faster, right? Because the hacker space is nearly entirely open source. So AI can just go through the code with a fine tooth comb as fast as it wants and change and weaponize the tools that are already made to be weapons even faster and stronger. So you're seeing weird combinations of attacks, weird combinations of using AI to do an Nmap scan across an IP address and let it take 3 weeks. I'm not going to flag any intrusion detection, intrusion prevention. I'm going to go through. There's a bunch of meme shorts on Facebook and YouTube of a guy trying to hack the Pentagon, and he's just walking AI through it, and it's not a bad walkthrough. Right? It's not going to work, but it's not a bad walkthrough of that, general conception of having AI do discovery, do open source intelligence gathering, and then execute some payloads at the target, and then try to exfiltrate data. And how is it going to exfiltrate that data? So going through that whole process is helping people go faster and faster and faster, but we're going to have more and more and more script kiddies who don't really know what the tool is doing to get to the end result. Hopefully
I
that
love
answered
that.
that question.
No, no, it does. It does. And if we're talking about CEOs that are looking to essentially and founders of cybersecurity companies that are looking to deploy these solutions and protect against them ultimately, right? Trying to develop the defense here. It's still going down this line of the vendor sprawl, of tool sprawl. And my hot take is that it wouldn't scale as effectively as culture does, right? So what are you doing, I guess, Richard, today to build that security behavior when people are busy, distracted, they're trying to hit revenue targets at the end of the day, right? The same guy that's trying to secure your business is trying to grow his business and trying to navigate these transitions, right? So what do you do to help build that behavior?
So I'm going to take off the IT hacker hat for a minute, and I'm
Yeah,
going to put on the marketing hat. And one of the things that kills businesses, from a business owner, from an employee, from a manager, is in the IT industry, it's called alert fatigue. It doesn't matter how good your tools are if you're ignoring what they tell you. I've done pen tests against large companies and large organizations that have all the tools to stop me in the world, right? They've got ThreatLocker, they've got Sentinel-1, they've got DNS Cisco Umbrella. I've literally taken over entire companies that had really, really, really good products, but nobody was looking at the alerts.
yeah,
Nobody was watching. So are you, as a business owner, watching your marketing? Are you watching your funnel? Are you watching the numbers of those funnels? Are you truly tracking? One of my favorite books is Stop Senseless Acts of Marketing. It's a personal favorite of mine because people mistake branding and marketing, and they mistake how are they applying their marketing and how are they engaging with that marketing. Those are the same thing. It's alert fatigue, whether it's a cybersecurity attack, whether it's a virus, or it's a have a 10-year customer that just left me, and I'm not asking why that customer left me. I'm 10% down on new leads, I'm 10% down on new discovery, I'm 10% down on clicks, I'm 10%, like whatever it is, that's an alert, and that should be an alert threshold. If you were a stock trader and the stock you invested in went down 10%, you would want to know why and learn if it's going to drop another 10. And as a business owner, most people are ignoring those things because of alert fatigue. I'll worry about it later. My tool will
They're
sort this out.
ignoring them because of the fatigue, or they just don't want to. I mean, they don't want to look at it. They don't. I mean, ultimately, you have to deduce something if you're getting facts from alerts, and if you translate that into insight, where you can activate that the stock is actually going to go down, you're not going to know that, but you have to deduce that the stock's going to go down based on the fact that their future contracts are doing something as a fact. For example, absolutely see that today. And then what about when? How do you know what to focus on most? At the end of the day, you have thresholds across all these areas.
That's usually a business coach question. Do you have a business
Yeah,
coach to tell you what you need to focus on most, right? What is it?
yeah,
I ran across a business coach that had a great circle diagram, right? It was like, he did from 0 to 6, and they created 8 different quadrants and it built a wheel. And when he would then say, all right, here's your company. Can you accelerate on this wheel? And you'd be like, because you're really good in this category and you're really bad in this category, and you got this really lopsided wheel, and you're not going to be able to accelerate. You need to be uniform 1, uniform 2, uniform 3, uniform 4. Like, it's great that you're a 6, but you're a 2 over here. You can't accelerate that way. So it's not only do you have, like you said, really saying the word insight is one of the most powerful applications. You have the data. What do you do with it?
yeah, yeah, exactly. So here's a good one for you, and we're running over, but I really appreciate kind of everything here. But w- how do you message security, right? You're pivoting a bit, right? But you're still looking at your CTO, your CISO, targeting here. How do you message so it doesn't feel like the department of no? At the end of the day, based on the culture that we have in security, a lot of times, it's a zero trust culture.
I used to work for a company and they handed out a patch because this was while I was deploying to Afghanistan. And they had a patch, and literally it was just a skull and crossbones that said the answer is no, and an information security department, right? Like, so it's a very profound way of saying that. Really, it's what is the policy, and where does your employee go find that out? What AI tools am I allowed to use? Is the company already paying for Copilot? Is the company already paying for Claude? Is the company already paying for ChatGPT Pro? What is the company allowing? How do I go get those resources? How do I just find out what's allowed in the company in general? How often are we refreshing our employee handbook? How often are we re-engaging our people? That's going to create that culture. If the employee knows where to get the question answered, they're going to go ask, and then you can just feed it there. These are the things you should be doing. This is why you should be doing them in a transparent way, and control the energy. Because if you just say no, people are going to start doing shadow IT, and they're going to start doing AI behind your back. And
Yeah,
however they do that AI behind your back, you're not going to like it.
yeah, yeah. And look, it's a noisy market. There's a lot of vendors saying, similar things right now. If you're looking at, coming out on top, Titanium's positioned as a partner. It's not just a help desk. How are you thinking about kind of packaging outcomes, building the trust with potential clients, and then growing in such a noisy space?
My marketing is unique. My position is unique. I take that unique selling proposition very seriously, right? Like, I've got a client that I'm probably gonna close in February, and the reason I'm going to close them is that when I went to meet them at their office at 7 o'clock in the morning, it was early. Nobody else had opened the office up. He's got something he's holding something here, and he's trying to get the keys in the door, and he's like jingling, and he's like, yeah, I don't know which key opens this door. And this is one of the locks you have to like fidget with, like, because it doesn't line up right. I'm like, may I? And he's like, sure. And he hands me the keys, and I just right through the door. And he just like, what the did you just did I just really watch you do that? Everybody else is gone. Nobody else is in the conversation anymore. As long as I don't mess up the sales presentation and I don't mess up the engagement, he's the guy that just watched me go through his door in 2 seconds.
Yeah,
That's my unique selling proposition. And that's really hard to compete
Very
with.
difficult. Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
that's kind of mine is how do I live in your head? How do I live in your wallet? How do I live on your bookshelf? How do I make my marketing permanent and forever and effective and good? And that's probably my biggest unique selling proposition is that I'm a weird IT cybersecurity guy that has as much marketing understanding and knowledge as he does ITs and cybersecurity.
I love it. I mean, that's fascinating, Richard, and you bring a lot to the table. You're writing a book, you're transitioning the company, you're developing solutions, you're launching products. What's the major goal for this year, right?
World domination.
I love it. And how are you not going to get there? What's going to, is the AI going to stop you here?
Maybe,
How are
maybe
you not going to get that? How are you not going to dominate the world?
take over my mind.
There
Really,
you go.
it's just become better for my customers, give my customers better options, help them navigate the landscape, and just say, hey, I'm here if you need some help.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. Well, Richard, everyone, CEO of Titanium Computing in Austin. If you're listening and you want practical operator for security, check him out and check out Richard's content. So appreciate you coming on. Richard, any advice on how to best reach you to those watching?
You can find me on YouTube. You can find us on our website, titaniumcomputing.com. I'm on LinkedIn somewhere. I'm on Instagram somewhere. I'm on a bunch of places somewhere. But just Google Richard Avery Titanium Computing. You'll find a wall of me somewhere.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate the time. Talk soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.